Good morning. This presentation is called Can ICT Help Overcome L1 Interference in L2 Writing? Implications and Challenges for the EFL Classroom. Our names are Jane Duarte and Anne Albuquerque, and we are from the Catholic University in Portugal. So the main reason behind this presentation are the mistakes produced by international students in EFL classes. So although both teachers and students recognize and fear this red pen or pencil, mistakes are not necessarily negative because they are part of the learning process. And mistakes are allowed in the EFL classroom. However, it is important to acknowledge that while making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process, so mistakes are indeed allowed. They should still be addressed in the EFL classroom. L1 interference are the type of mistakes that international students make when trying to make meaning in the foreign language, when they resort to their native language, their L1, as a means for compensating for their limitations in L2 proficiency, especially when trying to express more complex ideas in speaking or in writing. Students often rely on their L1 to articulate more complex ideas, and errors happen if the learner transfers linguistic structures from one language to the other inappropriately, usually because the student is misled by the partial similarities between the two languages. Research shows that even when students reveal confidence and maturity in their communicative skills, they still make these kind of mistakes. So there is also a difference between L1 interference and L1 transfer. The first one, interference, is researchers usually refer to interference when the transference is negative, but when the transfer is positive, then this is called language transference. And interference and transference are used to set the difference. Positive transference can be, for instance, the word conference in Portuguese, which is conferência. So for students, they can rely on the similarity to produce successful meanings. However, sometimes this transference is negative, and then it's called interference. The question here is, how can we help students overcome these L1 interference mistakes? So the research questions that guided the study were mainly three. The first one, which L1 interference mistakes do students mostly make? The second one, what kind of strategies can teachers use to help students overcome these mistakes? And the third one, up to what point can we resort to ICT to help them? So the objective of this study is to examine specific influences which are recurrent for students and consistently manifest as a distinct pattern of common mistakes. And the second objective is to conduct a pilot studies and evaluate how effective ICT can be in the EFL classrooms to assist and provide different learning experiences for students in order to overcome these L1 interference mistakes. It is our perspective that one of the ways to mitigate negative transfer from the first language to the second language is to increase learners' awareness of the differences between L1 and L2, which can be achieved through different explicit or implicit teaching methodologies. One of the premises is that students value teacher feedback on their errors and think that it helps them to improve their writing. This is according to Ferris, who is a researcher who has studied these issues for a long time. And the other one is also the other premise is also that teachers need to find the best ways to help students become independent self-editors of their own work in order to give them tools for the future. Another premise and a challenge is that once these mistakes are identified through the teacher's correction of written assignments, students will become aware of them. Identifying specific mistakes is important in the process of eliminating them. And we again agree with Ferris, who says that students need distinct and additional intervention from their writing teachers to make up deficits and develop strategies of finding, correcting, and avoiding mistakes. But the challenge in the end is, how do we do this? So this study involves a total of 47 students enrolled in the first level of the course in 2 classes who were taught by 2 different teachers. There were first year BA degree in media studies. EFL is part of the curriculum, so it is a compulsory subject, and it follows the guidelines and requirements for the B2 intermediate level. At UCP, all classes follow the same syllabus, which entails predetermined and grammar and writing components, but no defined methodology is set for the teachers. So this leads to variations in teaching styles and approaches across different classes, and there are more than 2 classes. Usually there are usually 5, 6 classes every year in media studies. So this aspect that different teachers are allowed to adopt different methodologies was instrumental in enabling a comparison between 2 different methods. The methodology used. So the study presents the findings of a 6-week longitudinal research by means of a pre-test, post-test design. So the assessment involved a diagnostic test, which was given to both classes. And then we identified the main categories to target in classes and for the purpose of this study. And these were articles, uncountable nouns and plural of adjectives, introductory it, word order, plus false friends and Portuguese. This is a term that we have adopted for a long time at our university to refer to false friend mistakes. Then 2 weeks later, both groups were given, okay, let me just show you, were given input and a corrective worksheet. So in the first section after the diagnostic test was written, that was 2 weeks later, the first session was the same for both groups. Group A followed a traditional approach where the teacher would give closer feedback to students and do exercises in class, correct homework. This homework was corrected on the board. While Group B used a more blended approach. So the first session was the same. The teacher gave some feedback and input on the categories that had been identified, and the worksheets given to both classes was also the same. But then in the second sections and the following sessions, the second group was given guidelines to work independently on materials posted on the Moodle platform. And so they were supposed to work more autonomously at home, and the homework was never corrected by the teacher. 2 weeks later, both students were given a second task, writing task 2, which was written in class without any other tools or resources, and which was a similar task to writing task 1, but a different topic. And this allowed for comparison of results between the pre-test and the post-test, between within the 5 categories which had been identified. Some examples taken from the diagnostic tests were these. Just to provide some clarification, at our university, The diagnostic test is given to the students at the beginning of the semester, and it's standard practice in EFL classes. However, this is not meant to be used as placement tests. They serve the purpose of evaluating the overall proficiency of the class and identifying students who may require additional support. And this was really important to identify the most recurrent L1 interference linguistic forms, which were to be worked out throughout the semester, and which we used for the purpose of this study. Because this was a media studies form, the studies course, the students were asked to write a 200 to 250 word commentary on print media is dying. So these were some of the mistakes made by the students. Articles, because in English, the definite article is often omitted, and it's not in Portuguese. Students tend to transfer this definite article onto their text, the society, the newspapers. Uncountable nouns and plural of adjectives. The main issue here is that adjectives in Portuguese take plural forms rather than in English. So this transference is, this interference is common. Introductory id, which is omitted in Portuguese and not in English. Word order, particularly adverb word order. So in this case, always informed, with a verb to be or can be also due. And then some false friends mistakes, like the evolution of time, or journals, because in Portuguese you say jornais for newspapers, and this becomes a false friend in English when transferred into English. Now, these were the results for group A. And this was the group that experienced a traditional teacher-centered approach. And basically, students were given additional written and oral exercises using examples in class, and then homework exercises, which are then corrected on the board. Now, between the diagnostic test and the writing task, one results, the main problematic areas that remain were articles and fault friends, where the majority of students still made mistakes. So 72% still made mistakes in the article category, and 83% still made mistakes in the false friends category. But no one made more than 3 mistakes within uncountable nouns, introductory it, and word order. And the number of students who made 1 or 2 mistakes reduced to more than 50%. So generally, this is very positive. The number of students who made no mistakes increased in all categories, and so this was also very positive. However, the results in Group B were not too different. Just to recall that in Group B, the teacher guided the students to interactive exercises posted on the Moodle platforms, and students were encouraged to further their practice at home. However, the teacher did not ask whether they had done the homework or not, nor did the teacher correct the homework in class. However, the teacher oversaw whether the students had completed the revision at home by means of the Moodle activity reports. Now, and surprisingly, the integration of ICT revealed rather low student engagement. This is because only 5 out of the 16 students completed all the exercises online. 3 students started the exercises but did not finish them, and 50% of the students didn't even start the exercises. However, the results between Group A and Group B were not very different, because the majority of students, again, made at least 1 or 2 mistakes in all categories, and had made many had made more than 3 in the diagnostic text, so they improved. Most students also improved to the no mistakes in all categories. And only 1 student did not improve in any of the categories except for false friends. Overall, both groups made progress, and that was very positive. The traditional and blended methodology produced similar results. And regardless of the teaching method employed. The traditional approach and the blended approach revealed no difference, although the integration of ICT revealed low student engagement. However, this did not seem to affect the progress of students. Independently of the strategies used in both approaches, our perspective is that it was the fact that teachers highlighted and addressed the mistakes they had made in the diagnostic test in class that helped to foster students' awareness towards their individual L1 interference. So this is something that should be taken into account. It is important to address the students' mistakes in thorough and careful manner to help students overcome their L1 interference mistakes. So thank you very much. If you wish to speak to us about any of these issues, please contact my email.